Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Let's Dream Podcast. This is your host, Lee.
And I'm Casey Lucid. Welcome, everyone.
Hope everyone's doing well. And today we will be going over lucid dreaming, or more specifically, frequently asked questions about lucid dreamings. So we've checked across multiple internet threads, try to see what people have been asking about lucid dreaming and answering some questions that some of our listeners have posed to us as well. So let's get right to it. So, Casey, one of the very common questions that I've seen: what is lucid dreaming and what is astral projection? Are they the same thing or are they different?
Okay, well, so I can't speak very much about astral projection because I don't know that I've ever done it. But basically, lucid dreaming is when a person is aware that they're dreaming. You know, you're inside of a dream, but you become lucid and you're aware that you're dreaming. So you can take control of the dream and you can kind of manifest whatever you'd like to happen in the dream. And if I Google astral projection, what comes up is astral projection is a term used in esotericism to describe an intentional out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a soul or consciousness called an astral body. Now, I have no scientific backing for astral projection, but I have scientific backing for lucid dreaming. So I know lucid dreaming can be a very visceral, very intense, often seeming more real than this reality of an experience. And it's even if it can be explained scientifically, it doesn't make it any less amazing or magical or however we want to describe it. So I think people can get lost in the terminology, and it's not like, I wouldn't get too caught up on syntax. It's the experience that's important. Regardless of whether or not it's astral projection or lucid dreaming or whatever you want to believe, you're visiting another dimension, that's not the point. The point is the experience, because the experience can have great benefits. And so I think if you want to get very specific about it, lucid dreaming is just that. You become aware during an experience that you're having, more specifically during dreams. Astral projection, if you want to call it that, that's fine too. It's just that I can't really speak much on that other than what I just mentioned.
Thank you for your answer. So I think astral projection is more generally from what I've seen is from a more meditative state than a sleeping state.
Okay. And
there would be some overlapping between what you just described from lucid dreaming, where it's an out-of-body experience, which can overlap.
And the thing is, it's because of how extremely real lucid dreaming feels, I think that's where people can get caught up or mixed up. And that's fine. If that's what they believe, again, the thing about astral projection is I have no scientific evidence for it. And it's one of those things where it's like you can't prove it and you can't really disprove it. So it's kind of like I can't really say much about it. But if that's what people believe, I have no problem with somebody believing that. I mean, that's fine. I just like to look at things objectively, but yeah.
So how do you go lucid? And would it be easy? And can it be on a regular basis?
It's not easy when you start, I'll tell you that much. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's, I guess, like riding a bicycle, or doing martial arts or visual arts or like anything really. It takes some effort in the beginning, but there's a point where things just start to click and it just gets really easy, just much like anything. Like if anyone that listens, if they play a musical instrument, I think that's probably the easiest way to kind of explain lucid dreaming, metaphorically speaking, because when you first start playing a musical instrument, it's difficult. Every now and then you hit the right note and you get it right and it feels right and you're on time, you're in tune, you're on time, you're getting it right. But then often in the beginning, there's just a lot of stumbling. It doesn't sound that good. You can't play complex songs. You try to stick with bar chords and simple rhythms. It's exactly like that. Lucid dreaming can escalate from just playing a single note to learning how to put your fingers on the fretboard to just tapping and singing and just doing all sorts of things. So yeah.
All right. And once you've kind of handled this kind of learning to ride the bike sort of concept, you could ideally kind of do it on a regular basis?
100%, yes. So I've been lucid dreaming regularly for about 10 years now. And I remember once I actually got the hang of it, there have been multiple instances where I have dreamt consistently every night for a week straight. It takes some preparation, and you have to have your schedule down and your routine down very like methodically, or at least for me. For some people it's different, but once you get it down, it is so worth it. Like, I don't even like, it's so much fun. It's so worth it, and you find out things about yourself, so it's really fun.
All right, awesome. So there's definitely a sort of a learning curve and some methods to this.
Sure.
Would you say there's some techniques that go along that will help going lucid?
Yes. So by far, and I think there's also scientific evidence to back this up, the wake back to bed technique is by far the most easily approachable to get results in a fairly quick manner. And the wake back to bed technique is basically you go to sleep, you sleep for about 4 hours. You kind of have to play around with it. I know that the REM cycle happens every 90 minutes, but it's different for some people. You know, like, I had to play around with it a little bit, but it seems to me if I sleep for 4, like right between 4 and 5 hours, but usually closer to the 4-hour mark. If I sleep for 4 hours and then I wake up and stay up for 2 hours, between 1.5 to 2 hours, and then I go back to bed, I will almost always have a lucid dream. And what I'll do is I'll set an alarm. So like when I go back to bed, I'll set an alarm for 90 minutes. And it's so weird because it took a little while to tweak it and kind of like experiment. And, you know, just like anything worth doing, it involves some effort. Once I got it down, it's very, very easy for me to have a lucid dream every morning. I wouldn't say every morning. Sometimes you just can't get it. I don't know what it is. You got to remember, as human beings, we have a lot of things on our minds. You know, our health may be fluctuating depending on what's going on. So don't knock yourself if you can't get it, but definitely just keep trying and tweaking it.
So would you call this technique kind of beginner friendly?
Yes and no. Yes, because it usually yields the greatest results. No, because, I mean, you know, let's get serious. We all have work, we all have lives, and it can be kind of difficult to coordinate that.
Okay, so there are some techniques. Would you say that certain techniques work better for some individuals than others?
Well, a little while ago, there was this they did a study where they tested, and I think Labarge was involved with it, but basically they tested several different methods for lucid dreaming, and the wake back to bed method was by far the most effective, like significantly, visibly effective. I mean, there's other techniques, but it's just, look at it from like an engineering perspective. You want to do the thing that yields the greatest results, and then you can experiment with other things.
Okay, I see. So the wake back to bed method has been proven effectively across the board, that it's been one of the more efficient processes.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
For the next question, so let's say I've been trying for a long time and I've still have no results. And I've tried all the techniques for over a year now. What could be going wrong? Why isn't it working?
Okay, this kind of ties in with what I said earlier, and that's an important, very important thing to consider is your health, like the state of your health. Like, for example, within the past couple of years, I developed asthma as an adult. I know, lucky me. But I know that in the beginning, when it was really starting to flare up, I have a lot of allergies. I was really having difficulty sleeping because I was having difficulty breathing. At that point, I was having a lot of difficulty going lucid and having lucid dreams. And that was a direct reflection, I think, of my health status. I think you really have to make sure that you're at least in decent health if you're trying to lucid dream, because I've known people that have had health problems related to like stress that have had difficulty lucid dreaming. And like a friend of mine I used to be roommates with, he used to lucid dream. Actually, we both used to lucid dream and talk about lucid dreaming a lot. And then, he started getting very stressed out at work. It was very difficult for him to do it because obviously we have lives outside of dreams, obviously, which greatly impact our health and our well-being. And not only that, but you have to consider your environment. How are you sleeping? Are you sleeping on a comfortable bed? Are you in a quiet environment? Is it comfortable enough for you to have a good restful sleep and then be able to go into those cycles, of lucid dreaming and waking up? And are you eating before going to bed? Are you eating something that might be disturbing your sleep before going to bed. There's a lot of things to consider, but mostly just look at your health, look at your environment and your situation, because if there's things that are taking your focus away from lucid dreaming, that keep you up at night, it'll negatively impact the experience.
Okay, so for this question, it does take a lot of kind of self-awareness, making sure you're keeping yourself in check, because if you are doing such techniques as the wake back to bed methods, that is taken away from your health or sleep, or both in this case.
Well, yeah,
so it is important to just kind of keep everything in check, making sure you are healthy enough to try to perform these techniques.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about lucid dreaming is that it's very introspective. There's nobody else, like somebody else can't lucid dream for you. Somebody else, you can't really lucid dream together with somebody else, even though I've tried. But like two different people can lucid dream and they'll have like different experiences, and then they can talk about it and have kind of like a bonding moment over it. But it's a very personal thing. So I like it because it's introspective. So you have to look at yourself, and it's supposed to make you think about yourself and self-reflect, and then you have to self-reflect on your environment, your waking environment, and then it can help you translate that into your sleeping environment.
Okay, awesome. So besides from techniques to help you go lucid, would there be any kind of outside help? Would music or say a supplement help achieve going lucid?
They can. I'll give you an example. This is years ago. I used to fall asleep listening to a very low decibel of like classic jazz. I don't know why I started doing that. I just remember I think it was playing on the radio. Like during the night, there was a station that I found that played really good jazz. Listening to that, it helped. I don't know, it just helped me sleep. But it's at that time in my life. But I remember one time it was very low, so it was barely audible. But at one point, so I had fallen asleep, and then at a certain point, they started playing a bebop jazz song, which was kind of like louder and more sporadic, I guess. So I was dreaming, and then in my dream, I kind of picked up on that sound, which for some reason it triggered lucidity. It triggered. I'm like, oh, I'm asleep and I'm listening to jazz, so it most certainly can help. And I know they've done tests with different lights, lights, like I know LaBarge has experimented with lights going off at different times during the REM cycle, and kind of setting off like a cue for the listener to kind of like remind them that they're sleeping. So that's one way to do it. But another one, which I know a lot of people online talk about, is galantamine, which is basically, it's a supplement which is actually used to treat symptoms of Alzheimer's, but people often report when they take that they have lucid dream. If anything, it intensifies the vividness of their dreams. So that's one thing that people, they can try if they wanted to. That or vitamin B5. If I take vitamin B5, I guarantee you I'm going to have some wild dreams. I don't know why, but that really affects me. And sometimes they'll be lucid.
That's really cool. Have you heard of food affecting dreams?
Yes, in the sense of, I've had problems, for example, like if I eat something spicy, I'll have nightmares. Like I can't handle spicy food, so I will just straight up have nightmares if I eat spicy food. So that's one example.
So I was reading this article about food affecting dreams, and very specifically cheese affecting dreams if you eat cheese right before you go to bed. And the whole article was stating like they did a kind of a study where they tried out different cheese from like Europe and Italy to see which one had like very vivid dreams. And I thought it was really silly, but I guess people love cheese and they love to eat it before bed, and they have these weird dreams from it. And it seems to be a very common thing with cheese and dreams. But I think we'll probably get more into that in another episode.
That's funny. I could see it. Because we all have different reactions towards the food that we eat. So it only makes sense that you can have something that carries over, especially if you eat it closer to when you go to bed. I could see that. So
let's say you are having these vivid dreams. So what should you look out for? Reality checks? Are there certain dream signs that you would look out for? Things like that?
So that I would say that ties in more with dream journaling. So dream journaling is so important, not only because it helps you kind of realize a pattern of your own way of thinking while you're dreaming, but it's just really entertaining. Man, I love going back and reading through some of my older dream journals, and basically you start seeing a pattern. Like, I'll give you an example. For me, I often see things flying in the sky that shouldn't be. For example, whales, cars, elephants, people, like usually if I see things like that and I'm like, okay, I'm dreaming. Another one is, I don't know why, and this kind of like weirds out people when I tell them, but another one is, I will often, well, not so much lately, but I'll often see my dead aunt in my dreams, or not only her, but also other people that I know that are dead. They'll just show up in my dreams, and then that's kind of like a trigger for me, like, oh, okay, I'm dreaming. And it's something that I've noticed in my dream journaling, so I've managed to kind of be cognizant of that and kind of carry it over into my dreams. So basically, just people need to find out how they themselves think when they're dreaming, because things come up in dreams that may be in the back of your mind when you're awake, but they can bubble up in dreams. So it's interesting to pay attention to them through dream journaling, and that can definitely help you find those signs when you're dreaming.
Journaling can help you find these modes of thinking where you can spot differences between a dream and kind of reality kind of thing, right?
100%. Yep.
All right. So when you do sort of acknowledge these things and you are able to somewhat go lucid, is there a way to control it?
So there's a couple of possible ways that can help with that. One thing, and I know this is the answer that nobody really likes, but it's like practice makes perfect. The more you practice lucid dreaming, the better you're going to get at it. And that's really honestly anything in life. But another thing is, and this is just a couple of little tricks that I know work for me, and they also work for other people that I've talked to on the dreaming forums and just friends and family in general. But if you start to feel like you're losing control in a lucid dream, one of the things that I like to do is I'll just place my hands in front of me and I'll just look at my hands, and it kind of focuses on your hands, and it kind of stops the distraction of whatever's going on. Maybe it calms down your excitement. You just pay attention to your hands and then just look back up and look around, and things, for me, they often seem to stabilize. And that's the same with if I look down at my feet, and then just like if things are very chaotic in a dream, I can just kind of just stop and look down, take a couple of breaths, and then look back up. And then that for some reason helps me a lot. It doesn't always work, but it helps me a lot. And another thing, meditation in waking life can be tremendously helpful. And I've talked to a lot of people that seem to have the same thought process, because when you're meditating, you're learning to focus. And I think that's very important nowadays, especially because there's so many distractions. There's like emails, texts, phone calls, like all the social media, and it conditions us to just be perpetually stimulated by these like external stimuli that kind of just grab your attention. But lucid dreaming is about focusing, and like if you can focus, it's crazy, because like the amount of things you can do in the lucid dream is just unlimited. Like you can literally just go Super Saiyan and fly into outer space if you wanted to in a lucid dream, but it does take concentration. So meditating can be a huge benefit.
Once you've sort of experienced lucid dreaming, I think you'd want to do it again, because of that just is a great experience. And so I don't think you would even mind trying to get that experience or feeling again. So you would want to kind of practice a little bit here and there.
Yes.
But I also think that kind of answered our next questions. So if people are feeling muddled, if they're in their dreams, if they're feeling kind of muted, things aren't so vivid, it's muddled and it feels difficult to move, I think help that would kind of help increase your focus by meditating, or trying to get that focus in. Yeah.
And man, it's just like, it's so interesting to see, like on the forums, you'll see people that are just like, they're trying and trying and trying, and eventually when they do lucid dream, they're always just amazed at how great it is. And it's worth, I think it's worth the effort, it's definitely worth the effort. And I'll give you an example, like as I earlier mentioned, I have a lot of allergies, I have asthma, so it's like I have kind of a restricted diet, but when I'm lucid dreaming, I can literally just go to like a candy store and eat everything. That's actually one of the big motivators for me for lucid dreaming, is just that I can eat absolutely anything. And the crazy thing is that it tastes exactly as it does in real life. Like, that blows my mind. Like, what? Come on. And you don't even have to worry about gaining weight or nothing. Like, that alone, people, should be enough of an incentive to want to lucid dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that does go into probably our last question for this episode, is interacting with the environment. It seems like a lot of people do also have, difficulties interacting with the environment, but as you just said, you have no problems going to a candy store and chowing everything down in there.
Yeah, and again, like, I think practice is going to be the biggest thing, just consistency. The more you do it, the better you're just going to get at it. That's just naturally. But something that can help, and again, this sort of kind of falls in line with meditation. There's a quote from an artist, I think it was Matisse, that said, as an artist, you can't truly know something unless you've drawn it. And drawing it means that you have to focus on that object that you're drawing. You have to focus on it intensely. You have to look at it. You have to look at the shape, the texture, the lighting. So you really have to get like an appreciation for the thing that you're drawing. So you can do that too. Like, let's say you're having difficulty amping up the reality of your dream. Well, you can take anything, like you can look at your keyboard, for example. I know our listeners can't see this, but I'm just looking at my keyboard here. So like, I can look at the keyboard, I can like feel the texture, I see how it's made, the weight of it, and you just kind of have more focus on the experience. It has a certain smell, like you can interact with it in a certain way, you can type. So the same thing with food, like you can take candy bar and you can like taste it, smell it, feel the texture, look at the wrapper, like just basically immerse yourself in the experience, and that can definitely carry over into the dream. So yeah, I would say just be more focused in real life. It can help in the dream. Make
sure you're using all of your senses to really immerse yourself in the environment, whichever you are.
Exactly.
I think that would probably help a lot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. So I think that'll be it for this episode. We do have more questions. For the sake of the length of this episode, we're going to answer in the next episode.
Okay, cool. Well, I thank you all for joining us. And if you yourself have any questions about lucid dreaming or just dreams in general, or you just want to share some dream stories with us, feel free to send us an email at contact@letsdreampodcast.com, or you could just look us up on social media. It's just the Let's Dream Podcast. Instagram is Let's Dream IG. And yeah, come back and see us or listen to us next episode. We'll have more answers to lucid dreaming questions.
Yep. And we'll see you in the next one.